And welcome back. We decided to switch things up a bit in our show lineup for this morning, starting instead with the celebration of Nurses Week, Sabrina. We have 3 nurses joining us in studio this morning. Before I introduce them formally, I want to say Happy Nurses Week to them and, of course, all other nurses across the country.
Absolutely.
In studio with us this morning, we have Assistant Unit Manager Sandra Smith-Burgess. Good morning.
Good morning.
In the middle is Khalifa Gray. She's a registered nurse. Good morning.
Morning.
And to her left is Marlene Black. She's the Director of Nurses Services. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And of course, once again, Happy Nurses Week to you guys as
Thank
well.
you.
All right. What are we looking forward to this week in commemoration of the work that you guys do in the health profession?
Okay, for Nurses Week, we normally would start, we have a theme for our Nurses Week, and the theme of our Nurses Week is being developed by the International Council of Nurses. So it's an international Nurses Week celebration. And our theme is Our Nurses, Our Future, the Economic Value of Care. So our focus for this week, we want to show our community, we want to show our country that we need to invest in nursing because there's a lot of financial instability when we do not develop our nurses through education. But for our celebration, we have a whole week of activities to empower nurses, to engage our community, and also to make them happy. It's an yearly celebration, but we need to recognize our nurses on a daily basis. But it's always a day for more.
I want to look at the profession of nursing. We associate nursing with persons that are naturally caring individuals. Let's hone in a bit on that briefly. I want to ask Khalifa though, because guys, I'll let you know that Khalifa is one of my very long-time friends, and I always remembered her expressing that she wanted to be a nurse and her working towards that. So now seeing her in this profession, I think is a really happy moment for me. So I'll pose this question to you. Let's talk about the profession of nursing and what are the characteristics that it takes to be a nurse.
The profession of nursing includes, like you said, one of the top qualities of caring, being empathetic towards others and sympathetic, lending an extra hand, going the extra mile. And it's truly a calling from within because, you know, there will be hurdles along the way that you might feel like, you know, this may not be for me, but intrinsically having that quality to care and, you know, being altruistic towards others is what, you know, keeps me driven as a nurse, you know, in the profession.
What brought you to nursing? Perhaps there was a childhood dream or something that you figured you'd latched on to bring you to where you are today.
So for me, nursing goes all the way back to probably the age of 5. It was something from a childhood dream that just blossomed into a reality and a profession for me. So I held on to that dream, and that's what I pursued in life because I knew I enjoyed caring for others, and I just pursued that dream.
Sandra, let's get you in the conversation. Was that dream also similar for you?
Yes, it was. From childhood, I knew I wanted to be a nurse, hence the reason in high school I just went doing my science, and I was always intrigued by things like body parts, and I'm intrigued like things like I wanted to know how inside of a human body looks. So when they told me we were going to see our first post-mortem, I was like, yes. And you know, that is the thing that intrigued me from I was young. I always wanted to be a nurse. So here in this profession, 18 years later,
wow,
going on 19, and I still love my job the same as I did before I even started, you know. So I always tell people in this profession, you have to love it to be in it. If you don't love this job, it's not for you, honestly.
Because it requires you to have to interact, in this case, with patients on a daily basis, right? So you have to have that interpersonal skill to be able to, especially when someone is sick.
Yes.
It takes more from you to be able to communicate and offer the kind of services.
That's right.
Go ahead, sorry.
Miss Marlin, let's get you in the conversation as well, because you are the director of the nurses services. Let's talk a bit about your experience as a nurse as well.
Well, I started nursing since 1986 from the old Belize City Hospital. I started as a practical nurse back then, and I grew up in a profession. So nursing has been my first profession, and I believe it will be the last one as well. Growing up into the profession has been a challenge, especially in the new era of nursing. We have, presently we have a lot of novice nurses. Our senior nurses have now become of age, and it's challenging because we have this younger nursing within our institution in the clinical areas, being clinical managers, and they need a lot of guidance. They are not as experienced as the senior nurses, so it becomes a very challenging experience for us. But I'm a person that, even though that I'm in the administrative part of work, I have a scrubs that I change. I remove the jackets and I put on my scrubs and I go into the clinical areas to encourage the younger nurses and to guide them, you know, because they need that extra support. So I'm always there for them.
How gratifying is this feeling for you ladies in terms of being there and being able to provide the kind of care that patients need on a day-to-day basis?
Well, in my area, I'm a specialized nurse, because you have, just like how you have doctors who specialize, you have nurses that can specialize in different areas. I'm a midwife. I do deliveries. I deliver babies every day for the past 13 years. So, and that is my favorite part. So it brings pleasure knowing that when my patient deliver, or even if the patient ends up in a C-section, I receive that baby and it's a healthy baby. It breaks our heart when the baby dies, because you know you have things that happen, like the patient is expecting a healthy baby, and then this baby, something happened in the womb and the baby died. Just like how that mom is hurt, I feel the same hurt. You know, just that we can't shed the tear in front of the patient, but in our heart we feel it for them as well, right? So we, as much as we get the happiness, we also get the sadness when our patient is sad, and that's how I feel. So it's not all the time fun, and you know, sometimes it's sadness as well. But like we mentioned earlier, we're there to provide that care. We're there to provide that mental, that emotional support for that patient, because some of them don't have that support otherwise. Some of them don't have any family, some of them are alone. So in the absence of that family, then we become the family, we become the support. So it's very rewarding for me, and I will be there as long as I can to offer care.
Like Sister Burgess says, I'm a nurse under her, so I'm also a specialized nurse, so I'm a midwife as well. And it's quite very, very gratifying to, you know, see the end result from start to finish, from admission process until discharge, with our mothers going home with a healthy bouncing baby. And even mothers who, you know, it's not always a bright, sunny story that they end up with, but, you know, being able to be empathetic towards them. And the reward from that comes from a simple thank you sometimes from those patients, you know.
I think a point, Isani, that we really recognized how much we valued our frontline workers and nurses and medical practitioners was, of course, during COVID-19. Yeah. But we stood at a point where we reported on what was taking place. While we were still considered sort of frontline workers, I have to say the ones who really bore the brunt of that were persons like you guys. Talk to us about what that experience was like, and why even more so now we're celebrating Nurses Week.
I think for us, especially at the Carl Kushner Memorial Hospital, we took a blunt of that COVID experience, because we are the #1 national referral hospital. So my experience was mainly based in the NICU. So for me, I had no experience actually working within the COVID unit, but it was a rippling effect down to each single individual unit. There was fear, there was great anticipation, and you know, it was the same way the world outside here experienced COVID, we experienced it likewise, apart from having to put ourselves out there to deal with the patients that come into the hospital with this pandemic. So,
yeah. Well, ladies, let's talk about the celebration this week. I'm hoping we have some activities lined up in store. What can we expect?
Okay, our activities start this morning. We are having a breakfast for all our nurses, presently happening right now since we are here at the studio. Tomorrow, we'll be having our award ceremony. Every year, we recognize the most outstanding nurse, and we reward them. After our ceremony, Tuesday, we're having a spa day. We also give them a time for relaxation.
Yes.
We have massages, we have manicures and pedicures. On Wednesday, we'll be having an educational fair, and this year will be different. We are going to do a display, and it will portray a patient, a simulation, birth bringing in a patient, an injured patient, and we will have our booth out there with the different units. So this patient, because we want to show the public, we want to show the schools, the primary school, secondary school, to show them what is the process that the patient goes through when it reaches hospital. Because we just have a mind that the patient goes to emergency and goes to the ward and go home. But there's a process. So all those processes will be shown on Wednesday, the transitioning of the patient from accident and emergency up to the point of being discharged.
Let's talk a bit about that process, just to educate our viewers, because indeed oftentimes we become a bit agitated and impatient, especially when we land in that emergency room. We want things to happen really quickly, and we feel that our emergency deserves to be dealt with above Isani's emergency. Let's talk about that process and where the nurse's role comes in.
Okay. As the patient reaches the accident and emergency, we have a triage area. And this is where we have the challenges of our patients and the complaints from the patients, because they don't understand that there is a triage process. The nurse would assess the patient, and they were going to be triaged as a category 1, 2, 3, or 4. And depending on the severity of the case, then the nurse will determine, okay, you need to go in first, you need to go in second. But some of the patients, like you said, Isani thinks because he have a cold and a fever, he's the priority person.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that.
So you mentioned categories 1 to 4. What would be the placement in each one of those categories?
Okay, category 1 would be like the most stable patient, maybe a cold and a fever. The category 2 then will be cold and a fever, mostly with diarrhea or something else.
Okay.
The category 4 will reach like those emergency cases that needs immediate
Like
attention.
wounds
The
or
gun-
stab wounds, their priority. So
Respiratory
you have-
process.
Yes, like Matron is saying, you have times where the emergency area can be quiet. Nobody knows when a road traffic accident is going to happen or a gunshot patient is going to come. So for example, you're at the emergency, and as the nurse was going to triage you, then in came an ambulance with road traffic accident patient. One, the arm is falling off and the patient is bleeding. Of course, that nurse will have to leave you there and run and attend to the one that is dying. Now, when that patient is stabilized and they got the patient prepped and everything and go to the theater where you know, okay, at least we know he made it alive there, then they will come back and assimilate and attend to you, because you're not the priority with a cold and a flu. That is how it's categorized, like Matron said.
And I would also like to add that we take into consideration the age group as well, because babies, they're considered as a great priority for us, and also the elderly.
So
The thing is, though, and I guess this varies by individuals when we're accessing service, right? Everyone feels as if though his
they're
or
the
her
priority.
should be a priority.
Yes.
So if I have a cold and this cold has been bothering me all week and I decide, finally, let me go to the hospital and get this thing checked out, I want the satisfaction that it's an in and out process, right? I'm not thinking that Sabrina will show up with, you know, her arm missing or something. I'm not thinking of anybody else. I'm thinking about me. It's a bit selfish, but it's the reality. Everyone who accesses healthcare believes or feels that they should be, or their situation is priority.
And I think that is where the importance of our primary health care comes in, because there are certain conditions and there are certain diseases that could be treated right at the clinics.
Yeah.
And some cases that do come into our emergency will be referred back to the clinics because they could be managed out in those places, right?
It's quite an interesting situation that you would have to decipher what is more important than the other, especially when you have animated individuals coming in and really expressing that they feel that they are at death's door with a cold.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's how long they're there too. I think, fortunately, I've never had the experience, but I hear it from other persons,
Yes.
right?
I have
They're
family
in the
members.
lobby for 4 hours and then someone comes and they get bumped up ahead of them. Yeah, it's
I have a family member that told me that whenever she gets to the emergency room, she throws herself on the ground to ensure that she gets dealt with as early as possible. Is that something that you guys observe as well?
I don't work the emergency area, so I can't say, but I know it's true because my colleagues do say. And that is the reason why we get a lot of negative feedback from the emergency area. But like my colleague Nurse Khalifa said, if you just have a cough and a cold, then you can go to the health center to get that fixed. Because if you come at the emergency and we have a baby about to die or a RT or a gunshot coming in, you will be left because they are the priority. How would you feel? I am taking care of you with a cough and a cold and that person dying could be your relative. How would you feel? So we will never be out of discrimination at the emergency. We will never. Because like Mr. Isani said, he is right. Everybody feel like they are a priority. But we in the medical field, we know exactly who is the actual priority when that moment comes. So.
Well, I think that brings about our next topic. Do we feel that we have enough nurses for our hospital?
No, we don't.
No.
Presently, we have a total of 169 nurses, and in that 169 includes the nurses from administration, that also includes our CEO, who is a nurse as well.
Nice.
Before COVID, we had a severe shortage of nurses, and after COVID, it just got worse.
There's a brain drain of nurses.
There is a brain drain, there is much frustration, burnout. We try to recruit internationally, but we cannot compete with the package that they are requesting. We cannot afford their salary that they are requesting. So it has been a big challenge for us, and our focus is also within our own country. We have competition with the private sector as well. And then we are finding out that, as I said, it's a new era of nursing. Our new nursing students, they're more focused into venturing on, they can't pay me more, you know, and that is our great competitor. And they look for satisfaction as well, you know, so we try to...
At the end of the day, when an individual has qualified him or herself in any profession, you're making a decision based on an economic reality. You're also making a decision based on longevity.
Right.
If this is something you see yourself doing for the next 10, 15 years or whatever. So all of these factors come to play, right? When I look at it from an outsider's perspective and consider the fact that, for instance, in Canada, they're offering a better package for any nurse to practice there versus perhaps what is being offered locally. And if you now look at the factors that I mentioned earlier, an economic situation that allows you to be able to thrive in doing what you love to do, then for some it would be a no-brainer. They would say, okay, well, why stay in Belize when I could pursue a career in medicine or what have you elsewhere and still have an opportunity to grow professionally, right? And I think that's partly the biggest challenge that you guys are faced with, having to compete with that kind of a thing.
That's right. But even though there's bigger competition. We do have nurses who wants to remain in, you know, in their country, and those are the ones that we need to nurture. Those are the ones that we need to motivate. Those are the ones that we need to encourage and find ways, different ways to let them be able to want to stay longer. You know, so we need to do more at our level and also at the ministry level as well, because we can have package deals for our nurses. You know, there's much more that can be done for our nurses, and I believe that it's time now that the ministry focus on things that can have our nurses remain in the profession in our country. A lot
has changed over the years, and I'm not giving away my age, but I could remember, you know, you have nursing school, for instance, right? Right where Central Region is, there was an old nursing school, and you have all of these young ladies, and even some of the young men, male nurses, dressed in white, and they're part of this entire program where they're learning how to be caregivers and what have you. And then I believe all of that got subsumed into the UB program, right? How has that sort of affected the landscape of nursing, so to speak? Because you have a specialized institution where you could have done that. Now you're part of a general university experience. Do you believe that perhaps that has an effect or a bearing on persons who are interested in that kind of work?
I believe so. I was part of that nursing school group, and I can say that it has made, it had a big impact on nursing. And back in the days, we were given a stipend going to nursing school. So it used to be more attractive, and it was free. Now, if you want to become a nurse, and even if you were born to become a nurse, and if you don't have the finances, you cannot go and join the profession that you so wanted. So now you have like maybe less nurses, because if there isn't a scholarship, then you will not be able to go, and maybe even if there's a scholarship, it doesn't mean that you will be the one to achieve the scholarship to go to UB.
And I believe that the ministry has incentivized individuals to pursue nursing through scholarship programs. Yes. I mean, this is an issue, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I think it really speaks to where Belize needs to be as it relates to encouraging more persons to get interested in this field of work. And then, of course, there's the other conversation of when they do get educated on being a nurse, having that loyalty, or is it wrong to want to chase bigger opportunities? That's a whole other conversation. But just to bring it back to the celebration that we're having here, let's talk about why it is important for us to celebrate nurses.
I think this week is very important for us because throughout the year, 365, 24/7, our nurses give of themselves within the hospitals, within the clinics, you know, and just to set aside 1 week for them, just to show awareness, just to show that we appreciate them, just to show recognition for them is very important, and it does go a long way. And so I think that's why it's so important for us, even as nurses, to, you know, be a part, participate, and encourage others to, you know, participate. And if you have a nurse within your life, a friend, a mother, a sister, a cousin, you know, encourage them, wish them a happy Nurses Week, let them know that they're doing a good job, because it could be a very tiring profession at times, stressful, and sometimes we do experience burnout. So this week is very important for us as nurses.
And yesterday was International Midwives Day, which is me and Khalifa's
double the celebration.
and Matron Black's Day. So today, my unit, being that I work the maternity ward, our staff will be celebrating our Midwives Day today. So we're doing our own little luncheon for our staff, and we will wear our t-shirts that we purchased. And so we're going to have a good time. But to add to what Nurse Grace said, it's really important because a lot of the time, especially all the negativity from the public about, people never seem to say the good things about the institution. They always seem to pick the bad things to bring out and let us feel less appreciated. So for me, every year I look forward to Nurses Week because that is when we do feel appreciated. If no time in the year I feel appreciated, it's Nurses Week, because that's set aside for us. Tomorrow evening we have the walk. The nurses will be walking the streets, well, down Central American Boulevard and back up to Carl Hushna. So we will be out there walking, right? So, I mean, support us, guys. I mean, let us feel appreciated this week. I mean, we have some times where we got donations from people through Matron. Some institutions and companies donated to us, and we're very grateful for that, to everyone who donated to us. I mean, it's always good to feel appreciated for even the little things you do. So, this week we put aside all the negativity. This week is loan positives.
Yeah,
and we are still accepting donations.
I also have to say thank you, because there are other organizations and other people who give and remember us without being it Nurses Week. Because, you know, being a nurse at Carl Hushna, if you work Christmas Day, there's a handsome Christmas dinner there for you, you know.
Nice.
And it's not from the institution, it's from others outside, you know, who remember that nurses are at work working these holidays. And so there are other events throughout the year where they do recognize us. So thank you to them as well.
Like when we were going through COVID, the Chongsan Palace donated food for us almost like for 2 weeks straight. They gave us food. Things like that really show that people do care and appreciate us as nurses. I mean, we struggle a lot, especially people look at us and be like, oh, when they say negative things, they feel like we're not hurted. But at the end of the day, I'm here saving your mom's or your father or your baby or your son's life. And you're just spitting out negativity on the institutions, spitting out negativity at the nurse. I mean, it's really, you know, sad that they think that way all the time. Not everyone, but because we're there while you're in your bed sleeping at night, we're there. Sometimes your eyes are heavy, but you have to try and keep it open to make past the shift. It's not easy. And we're very burned out most times because, like Matron rightly said, we're very short. We're very short. We have some days we don't even know where the nurse is going to come from to cover the shift. And we can't draw them on a paper and put them there and say work. It's not that easy. So we go through a lot. If it was because of the money, I would have left long time. But like I said, no, I'm honestly speaking. You have to love the job to suffer all like this, you know, but at the end of the day, it's rewarding, especially when my patient turn around and say thank you. Or, you know, we have a patient that is almost on the brink of going, but that patient walks out of that institution. Things like that is very rewarding for me, and that's what makes me feel good.
I listen to you, Sandra, and what I gather is oftentimes the criticism that people would have is, well, this is the job I want to sign up for. But I think what I'm hearing is this is the job that chose you guys.
Yes.
And because of that, because if you wanted to choose a better, something that worked better for you, you could do that at any day. But you stick with it because this is the job that chose you. Like Khalifa mentioned, this was something that she decided when she was 5 years old, and I imagine it's the same for you other ladies as well. So you sit through the parts that are hard because you know that the rewards are sweet, and the rewards in this case isn't something that you get tangibly. It's watching your patients be better, and that of course is worth celebrating. I'm listening to you ladies, and I wish I could give you more give you free food, but I think all that we can do at this point is just say thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. We're so grateful for you. We've been grateful from before COVID, and we're going to continue to be grateful. I want to say a special congratulations to Khalifa. This one's a bit personal for me. But across the board, congratulations to all of you women and men that chose this profession, or if the profession chose you. I think we're hoping that this week will be educational for people that would come by and learn more about the work that you do, and of course support in any way possible. So all the best.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about a new tool used in the marine spatial planning process with TNC. Stay with us. We'll be right back.